Hi, and welcome to this edition of Fresh Hope for Mental Health. Our mission here at Fresh Hope for Mental Health is to empower you to live well in spite of your mental health challenge by sharing insights through interviews, practical tools for living well, encouragement, and courage for overcoming all from a Christian perspective. And now, here's your host, Pastor Brad Hoefs.
Welcome, everyone, to Fresh Hope for Mental Health. I'm Brad Hoefs, your host. Our purpose here at Fresh Hope is to empower you to live a rich and full life in spite of having a mental health diagnosis. And today, I want to say that maybe we should stop calling it mental health. Maybe we should call it brain health. There's such a stigma with that word mental. Who wants to say, I have a mental issue? How about a brain issue? That would sound okay, right? Recently, I had surgery for an anomaly I had on the outside of my brain, just a fistula where veins and arteries were connecting with each other and they're not supposed to. And I had to have brain surgery. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means I had a brain issue. But I have a bigger issue. I have bipolar disorder, so I have a brain issue. So I'm going to call it that today. I'm going to try to start referring to these things more from that perspective, I think. Anyway, I have a new friend with me today that I just met, and his name is Pastor Brent Williams. He's the pastor over pastoral care at Woodmen Valley Church in Colorado Springs, Colorado, right?
That's correct, here in good old Colorado.
Yeah, well, and Nebraska played Colorado this last week and they got spanked. So Colorado did very well. There used to be quite a rivalry between Nebraska and Colorado when we played each other regularly.
But historically, it's been a great rivalry.
Yeah. Of course, I think it's still probably there. We've got it on both sides, Colorado and Iowa. We have rivalries.
Yeah, you're right in the middle. You bet.
Yeah. Well, Pastor Brent, first of all, tell me about Woodmen Valley Church and your role in the ministry there.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, we're a non-denominational church. We've been here about 40 years. I grew up in the north side of town when there was nothing here except the Air Force Academy up above us. Just prairie and brush and stuff, and a man with a vision started it, and we've had 5 pastors over the years, and now we're at a point of we have 5 campuses. 4 of them are in the city, and 1 is at Ark Valley Correctional Institute. The Department of Corrections has opened the door, unprecedented, to allow us to come in and be regulars there and just establish a church with all the normal kind of ministries that we would try to have. It's all men, of course, but that is unprecedented, that laws have been changed to do that, to allow that and so forth. So it's amazing to see what only God could pull off in that respect.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's amazing in and of itself. Yeah. So what is your role? What are you in charge of?
I've been serving in the congregational care or pastoral care ministries for about close to 30 years here. And
wow.
I started when I was 10. So, the thing. And it's just been amazing to see God's faithfulness to make this a place of grace, and to welcome people who are suffering, who are challenged greatly, who are broken in different ways. And we've just seen him faithfully continue to make this a place of grace over the years, no matter who the lead pastor was over the years. We've had 5 in those 40 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, sometime along the line, you became aware of Fresh Hope. I don't know if that was through our friend Peggy or how you guys came about to know about Fresh Hope.
It was through Miss Peggy. She and her husband made the big move from Nebraska to Colorado, got used to the altitude and whistled at me to grab some coffee. And we did, and it was a marvelous beginning. It was a marvelous beginning of kindred spirits and just her heart and vision and her testimony. And I was just so eager to say yes to her when hearing what the ministry of Fresh Hope and her heart was all about. So that started, probably 2+ years ago, between 2 and 3 years ago, I think. And we began developing the ministry here.
Did you start with a Fresh Hope group?
We did. We actually started. We provided some promotion, obviously, and we just started with an actual Fresh Hope group. Peggy found a great lady to partner up with her, Kim Raymond, and the two of them began patiently establishing the ministry. And slowly, there's been people become more aware of it and have the courage to come.
Yeah.
Because as you know, it takes courage to
Yes.
come. It
Yeah.
really does. To something new, you're not sure what's going to happen, who's going to be there, how will I feel with, how will I be treated, and they know I have a mental health challenge, so it's a big deal when somebody takes that step. We really want to honor that.
Yeah. Was it difficult for your church to buy into having a Fresh Hope group or a mental health support group?
I would say no, and I think that's simply because God has already had us on that path of seeing brokenness has all kind of looks and feels to it. Jesus's word on coming to bind up the brokenhearted. That's his theology of people.
Mm-hmm.
So we already had that, and we understand that. So we've tried to really stand, if you will, break through the stigmas that exist. And of course, there's still some of that within any church, ours included.
Sure.
But we also are really, really connected with a good partner here in town over the years up at Focus on the Family. And there's just been so many good things happen there that just align with that openness and, and desire to minister to all people, including those with mental health challenges.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the things that I find interesting is we run into a lot of churches periodically that are interested, but they're hesitant. And we've come to believe that part of the reason is because they weigh the risk, and there's a risk adversement. Churches are adverse to taking too many risks. And I always tell them, if you have any kind of recovery group, there's no more risk to our recovery than there is to AA or Celebrate Recovery or, any type of recovery group.
Right. And I agree with that. Just across the board, you have certain, if you will, risk that, people bring their stuff in, whatever that looks like. And we have to realize that we don't know everybody's story and what they're bringing into a situation. But it's important to take the risk and be wise about it, but to still take the risk because they're still broken people. Everybody's broken.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And of course, Peggy came to your church trained as a facilitator, but I'm sure we trained the other person and then they started a group. But more is happening than just a group there, right?
Well, you can say that with an exclamation point. Wow, is there ever? We're so thankful that we have people coming to Fresh Hope, both the individuals with those challenges, but their family members too, or other family members whose loved one doesn't come. We're just thankful for that. But along the way, I don't know if it was a year later or so, we discovered something called hope coaching. When I saw that, and Karen, my associate, we worked together, we kind of just started bouncing off our chairs. We saw that, understanding what it really is, how significant it is for any ministry situation that really involves, especially one-on-one, and how biblical it is and the impact that it has. And the training is so concise, and I call it clean and concise and spot on biblical. It just is simple for any ministry related kind of interaction. It's foundational for even counseling, even for somebody who's a counselor, it's still a foundational skill for even that.
I believe it is. Yeah.
It really is. It's how Jesus approaches us.
Yeah.
It's how Jesus approaches us.
It is. Really I never thought about it that way, but it
is.
It's all based on this clinical research from 25 years of clinical research on hope, how hope works. Now, all that research is secular, but when you infuse that with faith, it just becomes something that is irrefutably powerful. I mean,
It is.
Powerful. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, Brad, because even as you said, the secular research has shown how powerful it is to listen to somebody
Yep.
genuinely, compassionately. In fact, I've read it said that that's even more powerful. Sometimes beyond that, not much counseling is needed with people. It's that
Yep.
powerful in some cases.
Yeah.
And it's certainly strongly biblical. We know that,
Yeah.
how biblical it is.
Well, and people just helping people, or as we would say, peers helping peers. Just,
Years, yes.
you're just helping somebody that might be stuck in life. They don't even have to have a
Mhm.
mental health issue. They're just in a difficult spot.
Yeah,
That research shows that people do as well with that, if not better, than if they see a therapist sometimes.
that's exactly what I've read as well from different
Yeah.
sources. Exactly
Yeah.
how powerful. It's
Well,
that
and now you guys, you have more trained hope coaches than anybody else in the nation right now. And you have what, just short of 200 or just a little
it's
over?
in that ballpark. What was interesting when we presented this to a couple of people that are more in our lead team, that kind of helps to navigate for all the campuses we have. One was in our HR department, and the other was a campus pastor lead. And they just saw the value of this, and it started out, let's get all our staff trained. So that was the beginning point. So we had to tweak with how to pull that off, and so forth. But we
Yeah.
did. Thank you, Karen, again, my associate, the logistical queen that she is. And we went from there. Then we thought, well, all our key ministry partner leads, those who are the leaders in different ministries, hands-on facilitators, we said, let's get them. We need to get them trained up because their ministry is with people one-on-one directly, much of it, or small groups.
Yeah.
So we went there, and then we never had deacons before at our church, and we just started implementing deacons, which is such a wise step and necessary. And we said they need to be trained. Our deacons need to be trained. And
Yeah.
we also have a residency program with young people who are maybe still in college or finished. It's a 9-month program, and we are training them in hope coaching as well. So that's where it becomes a whole bunch of people that are getting this
Yeah.
training here. We'll
Yeah.
continue to do that with new staff that come on, or new residents, or new deacons, or new ministry partners.
Yeah.
We'll continue to do that. There's some mentoring programs going with men and women that are being developed, and we're asking those mentor leaders to go through the Hope Coach as well.
Yeah.
So it exploded here.
Yeah, Karen made a little video for us for an event
Yes.
coming up next week. And I found it amazing because she said that they're also going to be teaching parents and teens how to
Yeah.
do coaching.
We'd like to take it in that direction, a very simple approach to some parenting skills, but we also would like to do the same thing with marriages. Because there's a lot talked about, as we know, with marriages. That's, communication is always talked about. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's a little too much for people. And if we can start out with the most important part of communication, which is listening to understand, not listening to give advice,
Right.
or correct, that will change marriages. Just like two moms that decided to practice this with their teenage daughters, it changed their relationship. There's two
Really?
moms I've talked with. It changed the relationship because they
Wow.
practiced it with their teenage daughters. Yes.
Yeah. When you put something like this together, as we did during the pandemic, it was the burner, but it wasn't on the front burner. Well, once the pandemic hit, it became front burner.
Yes.
I had the time and all of that. But it's a lot of what we learned through trauma healing groups. And what we found is that you have to get people to talk in order to process their pain. You don't
Yes.
really have to have answers. You just they have the answers. They've got to work that out. But most people don't talk when they're stuck in a rut, or they're experiencing emotional pain, or whatever. And to get people to talk is the important thing. And
it really is critical. Yes.
yeah, the only way to do that is to ask important questions.
Yes.
And yeah, that's really amazing. But I love hearing the stories because we did it. We created the thing. the Hope Coach training and the model, and then you make the videos for training the facilitators, and then you kind of turn it over to everybody and say,
Yeah, release.
yeah, and so you
Yeah,
don't
release.
get to, in fact, I've got another thing coming out that you guys might be interested. It's called Fresh Hope for Living Free, and it is it's taken me almost 6 years now. I go to the local county jail here, which is very large here in Omaha. It's
Okay.
like I think 3,000 people in jail here in one jail.
Wow.
But I have been going there and teaching or creating a course, if you will, that's 20 weeks long or so. And it takes the guys through various issues that people face, from emotional issues, mental health issues, to spiritual issues, to addiction issues. But, even talking about what trauma does to people, or also helping the guys understand emotional age and what emotional age they might be,
Mm-hmm.
as well as emotional regulation and things like that. We'll have a version of that that's for jails and prisons to use,
Yeah.
as well as then we'll probably take a version of that and make it for just the general population to use.
Okay.
But the men that have been helping me with this, they actually wrote the tenets. They wrote
Oh,
the core recovery principles. And
wow.
so it's fascinating to see that even in that setting, the buy-in that they have regarding, how important is, most people do not choose to do bad things. Most people, yes, there's choice and all of that, but it's so much of it is a reaction to pain in their life that's not been
Mhm.
processed. And or they got stuck and they stayed stuck. Um, if you don't deal
Yes.
with your pain deals with you. It's just that easy.
Yes,
Um,
it is.
yeah. Well,
Well, that's exciting, Brad. That's exciting to hear what you're doing.
yeah,
Seriously,
it,
understanding
it,
trauma,
it
brokenness, and yeah.
yeah, it's come along. It just is just so hard to do the day-to-day task and write. I
And right. Yeah.
I don't do very well when I'm trying to do both those things, and lately
No.
life's busy. But yeah. Well, Brent, I find it very fascinating. One of my buddies out in California has called. We are the mental health component for CityServe in
Oh,
Bakersfield, California. That's become a global thing. And
mm-hmm.
but he was telling me that they see Fresh Hope as being a plug and play ministry, that
Huh.
churches can take it and use it and make
Yeah.
it work within their settings. Have you found that to be true?
That's exactly what we're doing. Exactly what we're doing, equipping all those people, but also doing a little adapting as we want to in the future for a parenting training, and then
Hmm.
for a marriage training. So we do want to take its core truths and get people schooled and practicing, and not
Yes.
not just information, but practicing. The
Yeah.
practicum part is so critical.
Yeah. We do a thing called Healing the Heart Wounds of Ministry for pastors and their spouses.
Ah,
We are working intensely in Houston right now. We had received a grant from the McNair Foundation down there. And it's interesting because pastors come with their spouses to these what I'm going to call clinics, if you will. Um, and they think they're going to learn something. And it's
mm-hmm.
interesting because, yeah, you're going to learn the model, but you're going to do the
Do
model.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because so many pastors and their spouses have, uh, trauma from ministry.
they do. Yeah,
Uh,
they really do. That's such a quiet truth that most people don't realize. I don't think most churchgoers don't realize that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And, pastors are first responders. They
Yes.
The people that are meeting some of the trauma head on. We come upon more quote unquote life accidents than most people, or
Yes.
walk right into it.
Yeah, it's right there for us. You betcha. And we're the first people that pastors are the first people some people want to reach out to. That's who they want to
Well,
talk to.
yeah,
Someone
yeah,
who's safe, who cares.
yeah. In Baptist research that they did, it was something like more people go to see their pastor first than therapist, doctor, counselor, nurse
Sure.
practitioners combined. And
Yeah.
well, what do you have any words for those who might be listening, who are church leaders or are people that would love to see their church use some mental health resources? Is there anything that you would have to say to them of either challenge or encouragement or something?
Sure. Well, I think I would share both challenge and encouragement that we all pastors are both shepherds and shepherds who equip. We're caregivers and equippers. That's just what we see in the scriptures, and we see Jesus being the model of that. Our department here is led by the Isaiah 61 is our core scriptures. We think it's all captured right there, what Jesus came to do and who he was and what he continues to do. But I would say we as the church don't want to be the last one in our society to be helping those with mental health challenges. Everybody else is on board. Professional athletes, celebrities, they're all making awareness. We don't want to be the last ones with our head in the sand, frankly. But we should be out there leading the way to welcome all brokenness and even establish ministries that welcome them, that are there for everybody, including those with mental health challenges. So I just think that Fresh Hope is something that almost any church could adopt. I know some churches are very small and they just say, oh, we can't even, but that's okay. But if you can talk to other pastors in your community and think about it together, I think every community needs to have this, even a small community, a church should be representing this. And I think it would be a great swing and a miss, if you will, to not have hope coaching, because that's really
Uh,
equipping the saints. That's equipping the saints for one-on-one ministry, no matter what that ministry is.
it really is teaching people how to bear one another's burdens.
It is. It's a one another. It's the one another's wrapped up in hands-on wisdom and skill training. And it couldn't be much, as I said earlier, cleaner, simpler. It really couldn't be from what the training provides. And I'm so grateful that you and your team have done that for the church
Well,
and provided that for the church.
thank you very much. It's humbling it's amazing to hear some of the stories and to touch base. This is the first time you and I have ever talked, but I've
Yes.
Woodmen Hills or Woodmen of the Valley for some time now, just because it's on the staff's radar and it gets brought up in meetings. And and so let me ask you this. Sometimes people think, oh, to start another ministry, it's going to take more time. But from what I've heard from churches that are implementing and putting in place, like hope coaching and those kinds of things, that it actually helps the pastoral care load.
Oh my, yes. Yes, it does. Because when others are equipped to be that first contact, or even to meet for a little while, meet for a few weeks or whatever, that takes a tremendous load off of the pastor. But it also gives the pastor a confidence. That person's equipped to do that. They'll do a good job of walking with that person and helping them to process out loud what they're struggling with. So there's a confidence and a relief.
I don't know. Are you aware of the Stevens Ministry program out there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
And, Stevens Ministry is more of a long-term thing.
It is.
Or walking alongside people. Fresh Hope is, or the hope coaching is more for the short term. In immediate crisis kind of situations.
And we've used that exact analogy because we at one time had Stephen Ministry here.
Okay.
So it's
Great.
exactly what you said is what I've said, those kind of very words, short term versus long term. And I think the challenge with Stephen ministry is that the training was so long, and that kept a lot of
Yes.
people from engaging in it, even though it was very specific to issues, different issues. But this makes it very doable for people, very
Yeah.
doable to go through the
Yeah.
training.
The training for Stephen's ministry was very arduous, and then the
Yes,
follow-up
it
and
was.
the
Yeah, great
which
training, but arduous.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, do you have any words of encouragement to those who have mental health challenges or might find themselves in a difficult spot in life that might be listening today?
Well, I would simply say for any of those people, or you and I, or anybody else, sometimes when we're struggling, we feel nobody will understand, or who would want to care enough to listen. And that's not a truth. That's when we're buying into a false belief there, which any of us can buy into. But Jesus will have people. The Lord has people that he uses. So take courage and step out, reach out to even just one person in your church with courage to share, and talk to the pastor about Fresh Hope and Hope Cutting. Talk to your pastor and have him contact us, somebody there at Fresh Hope headquarters, or call
Yeah.
here and talk
Yep.
to another pastor. And we'll
Yep.
just explain the blessings that it is. So be courageous, step out to reach for help with somebody. Be courageous, talk to your pastor as well about this ministry.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for spending some time with me today. I so much appreciate it.
Yeah.
Would you mind praying for those who are listening?
I would love to do that. And thank you, Brad, for the privilege of having this time with you. And it's good to
All
finally
right.
meet again, brother. We'll look
Yeah.
forward to that
Yeah.
face to face sometime, hopefully.
Yes, I have a question for you when we're done recording. So
Okay, very good. Well, let me pray. Father God, thank you so much that you tell us exactly how you see all of us. And it's
Mhm.
an even playing field for all of us. You tell us all that we need a savior. You tell us that we're all broken. You say that we all have stuck places of bondages. You see us all, even though each story is unique. So I just thank you that I can pray that everyone who would hear these words would realize that you know them. You know their struggles and challenges, Lord. You know their hopes and dreams. You know their fears. You know their passions, Lord. And you invite them to trust you, and you'll give them courage. You're the one that says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, overwhelmed, and I
Mm.
will give you rest." And Lord, those are your promises, and you do that. You want to do that in your church and through your church. So I pray you'd give individuals encouragement and hope and strength to take a next step, to
Yes.
reach out to someone, to look to you directly, and to know that you're going to provide someone in that community and hopefully in that church, even if they're a part of that, to respond to them, Lord, to meet them right where they're at in your acceptance, in your grace, in your love, and in your belonging that you want to give them. And Lord, I just thank you that you are who you are to each one of us. You're the good shepherd, Lord, who's come for every one of us, Lord. So I lift them up to you, the needs that we have. And I thank you for this great ministry that is meeting such a need in our day and time. I thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Again, thank you so much.
You're welcome, brother.
Well, my friends, that concludes this edition of Fresh Hope for Mental Health. I'd like to encourage you to leave a comment, or you can email me at any time, Pastor Brad at freshhope.us. Maybe you've got questions, maybe you've got ideas, maybe maybe you could be interviewed here on Fresh Hope for Mental Health. And if you get and receive your podcast through iTunes, if you would, in fact, leave a comment, that helps other people find it more easily along the way. So again, I'm Brad Hoefs, your host. This has been another edition of Fresh Hope for Mental Health, and may the Lord hold you in that steady and certain and sure hope until the next time we talk. God bless.
You've been listening to Fresh Hope for Mental Health. If you have an opportunity, please review, share, and subscribe to the Fresh Hope for Mental Health podcast on iTunes or on the service that you use. We encourage you to share our podcast on social media with your friends and family. Previous podcasts of Fresh Hope for Mental Health can be found at freshhopeformentalhealth.com, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, and iTunes. Fresh Hope is one of the leading networks of faith-based peer support groups internationally. For more information about Fresh Hope, go to freshhope.us.